Hi, welcome once again to another episode of Ignite Online. Thank you so much for joining us. We are talking careers, we're talking faculties of universities, and today I have some social scientists with me. So they're gonna introduce themselves. I have a lawyer and I have a psychologist. Can you guess which is which? Take a moment, look at them, think about which is which. If you guess right, you can reward yourself something from your fridge. Um, but yeah, let's start on our extreme end there. Please tell us your name and how you're involved in the social sciences.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Kalalelo Matsemani. I am a lawyer. I got my qualifications from University of Botswana, and I've been in practice for 6 years now.
Awesome.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Selebaling Megisepi. I'm a counseling psychologist. I got my license last year. Yeah. I got my master's degree from the University of Fort Hare in South Africa.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you so much for coming on the platform.
Yeah.
We have a lot of juicy things to talk about, so we're gonna go right into it. Khali, why did you decide to be a lawyer? Where was that journey? Where did it start?
So, interestingly enough, I did not know that I wanted to be a lawyer. I was one of those kids who did extremely well. In Form 5, if I recall, I think I got, was it 46 points?
Hmm.
So, there I was trying to figure out where do I fit in. I thought I could be a medical doctor, but mathematics was not my friend, and I did not do ad math either.
Yeah.
So I was like, where do I fall? My mother, such a forward-thinking person, took me to University of Botswana to, I think, the careers and counseling department. And there I did some sort of test. I forgot what it's called, but maybe you guys can help me with that. This test is basically trying to figure out through your likes and your personality where you could fall in terms of your career. So I did that test, and the first three answers was attorney, or rather lawyer. Second was judge. Third was police officer. So I was just like, oh, wow.
Okay.
And then the last two, I don't even recall. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to. So there was a deadline. I think I had 3 weeks before making my application to the University of Botswana. And my deadline, I was like, what am I going to do? I need to list the exact course that I want to study. So naturally, I listed law. Even though I had no clue what law entailed. I was like, I don't think they'll even take me for this. So I put law, and then the second one I put finance, because my father's an economist. So I thought maybe I could do finance, even though I didn't want to do economics. I thought maybe I could do something in finance, and I would eventually fall into something I like. Third was marketing. Fourth was the medical degree that I thought I would do growing up. And then, interestingly enough, I was taken for law.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up as a lawyer.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're government sponsored.
I was government sponsored.
Okay.
So the process of it, for those who don't know, is that you first apply to the university or the school that you want to, whether it's BAC or University of Botswana or University of Baisaho, whichever. Once you are told that you've been accepted, you then take those documents with you. You go to DTF. DTF, I think, is where is DTF right now?
It's in Block 6.
Yeah, Block 6. You go to DTF, that department will process everything for you. There are certain contracts and certain documents that you have to sign. And then once you submit, you wait until they call you. For me, it was easy because all I had to do was go to that specific office at UB and get that information sorted. Thereafter, they call you and tell you, go get your bank account sorted. So for us, the default bank was First National Bank of Botswana, FNB. So that's where we got our allowances, our book allowance. The first time we got our book allowance in a library card, but then it was changed to FNB. But pretty much that was it.
Okay.
I was government sponsored. It doesn't matter if you are from a private institution that is from a private school or you went to government school, so long as you can show that you've been accepted for a course you have your student ID and everything and all, everything that has to do with you being accepted into that course. Show that to them, show them your all the documents that they're asking for, then they will process you for a sponsorship. Mind you, not everybody does get 100% sponsorship. I don't know the criteria that they look into, but for me specifically, I was government sponsored.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maggie, same question.
How did I get into psychology?
Yeah.
Back in Form 2, I think I was 14 at that time. I got a past paper from one of the person who was in Form 3 at that time. So on the front of the past paper, it was written psychologist. So I was curious because back then we didn't have internet. I studied in a rural area. I was in Ramokhanami CGSS.
Okay.
In Tsopo. So I got curious about the psychology thing. So then I had an encyclopedia at that time.
Okay.
So I looked up what a psychologist does and got curious. And then I spoke to my teacher, and then she encouraged me. Another thing that also made me want to study psychology after finding out what it meant in the encyclopedia was that my uncle has a mental illness, my aunt and my grandfather. So I grew up seeing them, talking to themselves, or sometimes they'll go missing for days. So, and I could see how it was taking a toll on my grandmother. So I wanted to know what has happened, what led to these people being like this. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe let me study psychology, find out about mental disorders, so that I can help people. And also I was also curious about who I am. So I got into psychology so that I could understand who I am. Yeah, just that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story. You mentioned getting your license, and Kali, I'm going to ask you the same thing, but let's start with Maggie. So you can't just get your degree from university and start counseling people as a psychologist. You need to be certified somehow. Okay. What's that process like?
So you can't call yourself a psychologist without getting your license. So even after getting your master's, whilst you're still waiting to get a license, you can't. It's illegal for you to call yourself a psychologist. So the journey to being a psychologist is a very interesting one. It's very long. So even after, I studied my bachelor's at UB. I was also government sponsored like Halalelo. And then I went to, in Botswana, there is no master's in psychology.
Okay.
So it's only at the master's level that's where you can call yourself a psychologist, where you can become a psychologist. So after studying at UB, I went to South Africa to do my honors, but I didn't need to do honors, just that I wanted to be in that system so that I could compete to get a place for masters. So getting into masters is really hectic. Can you imagine all the universities in South Africa? So the selection process is it's very challenging. Not really challenging per se, but it's rigorous. For lack of a better word, it's rigorous. So normally the selection process will be up to a week.
Okay.
And most universities, they will select like 10 people. So you can imagine everyone in South Africa. And then people from Botswana, they're applying there. And then after interviews, there are only like 10 people selected.
You are a unicorn.
Yeah.
You are rare. Okay.
So after you get the master's program is 2 years. But it's not everyone that finishes in 2 years. Because the first year you do coursework, and then the second year you do 12 months internship. So after that, I studied in South Africa, right? So after completing your internship, you need to register with the HPCSA, write board exams. And then after passing board exams, that's when you can get your license. I didn't write my board exams in South Africa. I still need to do that. But I registered with the Botswana, what is it called? BHPC, Botswana High Commission, something like that. Health Professions Council, Botswana Health Professions Council. Yes. So yeah.
So they're the ones who give you like the certification to practice.
Yes.
On the Botswana side of things.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
know that other people can, after getting your degree, can work in. You can do counseling. So there's a
Counseling.
difference between counseling and psychotherapy.
What's the difference?
So with counseling, so counselors, they help people with the, present day problems.
Okay.
So, but with psychotherapy, you go in deeper.
Okay.
So it's hectic, and sometimes the process is longer than with counseling. So you need to, and counselors, they don't deal with clinical problems like depression, anxiety, and the likes. So at the degree level, you can't work with those. They feel like you don't have enough experience, you don't know what you're doing. So but other people after I know that I also worked I worked at an NGO after getting my degree before I went for my master's.
Okay.
So you can practice, you can counsel, but you can't do psychotherapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope it's clear. Yeah.
Sorry?
I'm saying I hope it's clear.
No, it's clear. So one last question, sorry. What's the benefit of doing the board exams in South Africa? That just means you can practice in South Africa.
Yes, and also getting your license from South Africa makes you, there's so many benefits. You can practice anywhere in the world,
Really?
unlike getting the Botswana license. And I also think, if you want to get your PhD, it would be advisable to get the South African license.
I'm glad I asked that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you have a degree, Khali, can you just be a lawyer?
So I just have to say this. University of Botswana, here specifically, we are exempted from writing bar exams. I'm sure like a lot of people have heard that if you want to become a lawyer, whether it's through TV or wherever, you hear that you have to write bar exams. Us students who studied in Botswana do not have to write bar exams.
Okay.
But if you got your degree from South Africa or from Zimbabwe and you're coming back to Botswana or you're coming to Botswana to practice law here, you do have to write exams. Okay. So not only do you have to pass your bar exam from wherever you studied, because South Africa and maybe and UK and other countries demand a bar exam, but you also need to come back here and write specific exams. So those exams, for example, I'd say conveyancing. So conveyancing has to do with transfer of property. Okay. Where you register property in the deeds registry office, and if you want to purchase the rights of property in Botswana, you go through the processes at the deeds registry office here, and then that's what the whole conveyancing comes in. Okay. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Okay. So it's a whole course. So you would write those exams because you've been learning the law of a different country. Yeah. Now you have to come here to Botswana and practice the laws that pertain to Botswana and Botswana. So that's why you need to regularize into the system of Botswana. That's why you have to write certain exams here. Not all of them, but some. Another thing is, with us, once you get your degree, you need to, not all of us, but we do what we call pupillage. It's basically internship. You get a pupil master. This is somebody who's been practicing in Botswana for more than 10 years. And specifically, when I talk about practice, I mean you've been going to courts, magistrate court, high court, even the court of appeal. You've been basically doing litigation. So you've been practicing as a litigating attorney for 10 years plus. That qualifies you as a pupil master, and then thereafter you can register yourself as a pupil master and at the Law Society of Botswana, and then you can have pupils under you. So it's basically a contract that you enter into with your pupil master, that you'll be with them for 12 months, and then they'll be teaching you what practice entails. Okay. So there's a vast difference between the theory part of law. You've been going to school, you've been writing your exams and all that, but now you need to take all of that and put them into practice. And sometimes in some places it can be like, wow, I feel like I don't know anything. So that's where your pupil master comes in to teach you how to practice the law. Right. Once you're done practicing, and by the way, as a pupil, you can actually appear in court. you appear in court with your pupil master. So when you appear in court, the order that comes from you appearing in court will state your name, that you appeared with your pupil master and this person appeared together for the defendant or for the plaintiff in a matter or for whoever is in that case. And then that will go on for 12 months. And then thereafter you can be an attorney like an individual attorney without the assistance of anybody. And then when you're a pupil, that's where the clock starts running as to when I say the clock, it's like the number of years you've been practicing. They actually matter. So they matter in terms of telling who in the room is our senior, like how you've been practicing. Like I said, for you to be a pupil master, you have to have been practicing as a litigating attorney for 10 plus years. It also entails when you can become a judge here in Botswana. So there's a number of years you need to clock in as a litigating attorney to become a judge and etc. But there are exemptions here and there, but particularly if you've been practicing as a litigating attorney for so many years.
Wow.
So as a pupil master, you have 0 years. As a pupil, 0 years. And then thereafter, they start counting from the time you stop being a pupil as to the number of years you've been practicing. And then annually, you have to pay to the Law Society fees, as well as you also need to pay to the High Court here in Botswana certain fees for you to be considered a practicing attorney.
So you can't be broke, huh?
You are not allowed to be broke, and it's very expensive, guys. It's quite expensive. It's a lot of money. So yeah, I don't want to state how much it is. To some people, it's like a drop in the ocean. To some people, it's like, that's a lot of money that I need to hustle. So, and every single person needs to pay those fees to the Law Society, and also and by the way, you also need to be admitted to practice. So your admission means you have to have a case number, you file an application, you have to get a waiver from the Attorney General of Botswana, you get a waiver from the Law Society that you're a fit and proper person. Fit and proper entails you do not have criminal records and etc. for you to practice in Botswana. That you are indeed this person in your degree or, your IDs, everything matches up.
Let's stay there for a second. So I went to juvie, or I went to Moshopa Boys Prison.
Oh, you need to state it. That you went to.
I can't be a lawyer anymore?
Well, there have been instances where somebody, I think, there were, back in the day, people used to strike and then will spend a minute or two in a cell, and then there's a record that you spent some time there. But as a student, you don't think much of it. Now, when it comes to I'm a fit and proper person, you need to show that you are, and if you don't disclose that, and it's later found out, you can actually be disbarred and not practice in Botswana.
Okay.
So it's the we are treated a little bit different than the usual man. Like, even if a police officer, finds out that you're an attorney, they will treat you a little bit different because they don't consider you just the reasonable man out there. They think that you know better. You must know better because you've been taught. You've been taught. You know the law morally and all those other things, morals and all those other things, come into play. So, so when you're an attorney, you need your reputation. Is a big deal as opposed to other professions. Not to belittle anybody, but it's really, really a big deal.
Hectic.
And we've seen attorneys right now being disbarred by the Law Society, or there's a recommendation that this person must be disbarred. Even as a layman, let's say you are helping somebody out there and you're not happy with your attorney, you can still go and report them at the Law Society, and they will take it very seriously. There can even be an inquiry and a disciplinary hearing that can take place and all those other things. So you need to be careful as an attorney of how you do things, basically.
One last quick question. It's from what you're mentioning, it seems like the spectrum is so wide as to what you can become once you have a law degree. You talked about judge and stuff. So now what if you are this person who's aspiring to be a judge? Like, a lawyer is not even something you want, but is it like something you have to pass through first?
it's mandatory.
Okay.
You can't be a judge without going through law school.
Right.
Another thing is not everybody will go through pupillage. Well, you will go through pupillage actually. Not everybody has to pay the fees to Law Society,
Okay.
or rather get a practicing, as in pay for those practicing certificates. You're exempted if you're working at corporate. You're exempted if you, so for example, a lawyer who, an in-house lawyer will most likely instruct me as a litigating attorney to go to court on their behalf, because that's what I do on a daily basis.
Okay.
Whereas an in-house lawyer will deal with like the board meetings, making sure that there is corporate governance, adherence, and all those and compliance issues in a huge organization, but they don't have time to be going to court for almost 2 years to win a case on behalf of their organization. They're most likely to send instructions to me to do that. Another thing is if you a pupil under an advocate, then once you are done with your pupillage, then you become an advocate.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And advocates, they take instructions from attorneys, and then we attorneys, we take instructions from the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need a graph.
It's
a lot.
It's a lot.
I need a graph.
And the thing is, when you go to law school, you are exposed to so much.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there is no industry that you can't enter into. You can go into petroleum. You can go into, computer science. You can go into mining. Like, there is so much. That's why I'm saying that when I introduce myself as an attorney, I say I'm a general litigator, as in I do litigation or work that usually goes to court, or I appear in court. But that doesn't mean that I'm an expert at everything.
Okay.
Yes. Whereas there are attorneys who are experts in their field. So you find an attorney who's an expert in, mining law, or an attorney who's an expert in technology and etc. Social media. Like people would ask me, so where can I sue somebody for defamation for this and this and that? For me as an attorney, generally I'll do the research into that, or I can funnel you to my colleague who's more of an expert and who will give you quicker advice on a whim than me myself. So depending on where you work, whom you're under, you can get so much done, or you can get the service that you want depending on who you go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there's quite a relationship in the social sciences, like we were talking off camera. If you have hurt somebody through divorce, Maggie is the one who has to counsel them or attend to them. So moving on to you, Maggie, what kind of person do you have to be to get through the rigorous training or the rigorous schooling? Because I'm hearing you say that there's only 10 spots in a certain university for masters. What kind of a person do you have to be, first of all, to qualify? And then what kind of a person do you have to be to actually practice?
Okay, so the schooling process. So you actually have to love psychology, love the work. I normally tell young people who want to get into psychology to, serve.
Yeah.
Like in church, be an usher, just work with people.
Okay.
Harness your, interpersonal skills through that, and just love the work, love working with people. You should love, listening to other people. I know for me, I'm so spoken, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So I find it that, people, wherever I am, even in public transport, people just start telling me their problems. Like, so this has been happening to me. Yeah. Everywhere I go, like even I used a cab getting here, the man was telling me all about his problems. So,
wow.
Yeah, just that's...
Okay, love people.
Yeah, love people. So that's very important. Love
Every
people.
Christian should be a psychologist.
Yeah.
No, love is a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Should I bring out the scripture?
The first commandment.
You see what I'm saying? You are a clanging cymbal if you do not have love. But
Yeah,
sorry.
love people, love working with people, and love helping people. And also, the journey to being a psychologist is not straightforward. Like I was saying before, that it's not everyone that will get into masters. So like for me, I applied after I completed my honors. I did my honors at Rhodes University in Grahamstown, now called Makanda. So after that, I applied to get in for masters, and then I was putting on the waiting list. So you can imagine. So at Rhodes University is very prestigious, so no one would, if you are on the waiting list, so there is no one that will leave their spot at Rhodes University. So I was on the waiting list, and then I considered coming back to Botswana. I was like, Ghana, if I go back to Botswana, I don't think I'll come back for this. So let me just stay in South Africa, find something to do.
Okay.
And then I applied the following year, and then I got in at Fort Hare in East London. So I think the selection team, they'll be looking at whether you are you able to take feedback. I guess sometimes people get offended when they're being corrected. Or, okay, maybe you need to work on this, and so you need to be someone that is willing to take correction, negative feedback, whatever, however it looks like. And also another thing, you need to be self-aware. You need to know your strengths and your weaknesses and areas of growth. Or okay, maybe as a person, I need to improve this. I need to work on this area. So the selection process, though you'll be doing you also need to be confident, because you need to, say your state, what you think is stand your ground. So the selection process, I remember you go through a number of interviews with other psychologists, and then you also do group interviews, group activities, let me say. So there'll be other people that will be competing to get into the program, and then there'll be a facilitator. So during those group activities, they just want to see if you're able to, to say something when you're with other people. Are you able to argue your point?
Yes.
And stuff like that. And also counseling skills. They'll be looking at counseling skills. That's what I'm saying. For young people, need to get out there, serve in church, and volunteer. There's so many organizations that are NGOs that are looking for people. So volunteer, serve. That's where you'll be getting the experience. You'll be getting harnessing your skills, your people skills. So the other question was?
So now in practice,
what do you need to?
What kind of a person do you have to be? Well, that's what you answered first.
No. For to get into into the program.
Into the program, and now in practice, because I can imagine, and this was going to be my next question. The spectrum is quite wide. I hear there's some things called an industrial psychologist.
Yeah, there's so many branches. So there's industrial psychology, there is educational psychology, clinical, forensic. So many of them. And in the States, child psychology. So many of them. Family psychology.
So the underlying factor, like you're saying, is just be about the people. Just be interested in helping people.
Yeah, because psychology is all about people. We study behavior, we study mental processes, emotions, thinking, problem solving, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So what do you need to be in practice? So it's similar to what you need as a student. Because like I was saying, the journey is kind of long. It's not straightforward. And I completed my degree at UB in 2013, and I only got my license last year.
Right.
So there are no shortcuts. if I'm to say that, there are no shortcuts. So you need to be patient, and it should be something that you really want, so that even though I'm saying it's challenging, but it's worth it at the end.
Absolutely.
Depending on whether, how do you define success? Is it about the number of people that you help, your impact? Or okay, I'm able to see, to volunteer my services I'm able to help so many people. I'm able to get comfortable. If you're talking about money,
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you say you got your graduation, you got your degree in 2013.
Yeah.
And you only got your license last year.
Yes.
2021.
Yes, 2021.
Yo.
So that's what I'm saying. The journey is very long. So after completing at UB, I worked at an NGO for a year. So as to get the experience, because for you to get into honors, they need to know your life experience. What experience? What kind of experience do you have?
Yeah.
Do you have any counseling skills? So I worked at Duke Refugee Camp. I was offering counseling there.
Okay.
So as to harness my counseling skills, and then I went to Rhodes University to do my honors. An honors degree is 1 year long. And then after that, I was in South Africa for some time. I was doing this and that.
Yeah.
And then I eventually got into masters in 2017. I was saying 2016, I was put on the waiting list. So then 2017, when I applied, I got in. I passed my interviews. So the 2017, I was doing my coursework in East London, and then 2017 I did my internship. So I agree for your masters in psychology, so there is the coursework. So you attend lessons, you attend seminars, and so on and so forth. Also doing practicals on the other during, you have to do you have a certain number of hours that you have to do. You have to be seeing people. I remember we were working at the student counseling unit at that time in East London. So then the following year I did my internship, and then during the 2 years you're supposed to do your thesis. So I was delayed by my thesis because at that time I applied for ethical, so I grew as a psychologist to be working with people. So the research that you do needs to be, you need to be mindful and be careful about the people that you are working with. So you have to go through the ethics committee. They need to approve it. Okay, so this person won't be harming people with the interview, the research that they'll be doing. So I applied for my ethical approval in 2017, my first year of masters, and then for some reason it got lost. So the ethics committee was telling me that they can't find my proposal.
Oh my goodness.
So I prayed. I was like, God, why is this happening to me? And then it only got approved the following year, 2018.
So they found it.
Eventually, no, I had to send in another one.
Okay.
So then I got my ethical approval the following year in June, and I had so many problems when I was doing I need therapy to talk. Just remembering everything that was happening. I remember, as when you are doing your internship, you also need to be registered with the HPCSA. So as a Botswana, as a foreigner, you don't need a worker's permit. I was there under a study permit. So the HPCSA was giving me hell over not having a work permit. So I remember having to do my internship without my license, without my certificate, and it's illegal to do that. And my professor would call them constantly. And at some point I felt like, maybe I shouldn't be here because of everything that was happening. And I remember him calling them, why this particular student? Why are you doing this to her? Everyone got, and also my colleagues from Botswana who are in other universities, they got their license then there. So I did my thesis, and doing your thesis, it's a lot of work. Although it's a mini thesis, but it's long. It's about 100 and something pages long. So the delay on my end was because of other lecturers leaving the university, going to other universities, meaning that my supervisor had to take in more students. In 2018, when I was doing my internship, he was supervising only 2 people. So by the end of 2018, he had additional 4 students that he was supervising, meaning that when you send him work, you wait for feedback for like a month or 2 months. So that's where the delay came in. And imagine there are 4 other people, so there's 6 of you that are being supervised by this person, and he's human. So you can't collect data until your supervisor can give you a go ahead. So that was where the delay came in. And then my research was around gender-based violence. So also, having people to talk to that have been victims of gender-based violence was also tough. So I had to talk you see the power of networking. I had to talk to people that would allow me to go to shelters and talk to interview people, victims of gender-based violence. And then after that, so after collecting data, I decided to come back to Botswana. So because I just had to analyze, and I could analyze from anywhere.
Okay.
So then I did my analysis in 2019, and then I was pushing my professor to allow me to send in my thesis by before the end of 2019. But since we were seeing other people as well, that didn't happen. And also COVID happened as well.
Yeah.
So then there was a delay in everything. So 2020, even I remember I sent in my thesis January 2020. There was delay in marking because of COVID. So then I only got feedback in September. So imagine having to wait. And you can't do anything during that time. You can't write board exams. You can't, there's nothing that you can do. You just have to wait.
You are a patient woman.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Now that you have your master's, can you set up your own practice?
In South Africa, you can, but in the things are a bit different in Botswana. So you have to wait 2 years.
Okay.
Because with us as lawyers, like once you're done with pupillage, you are now an independent or attorney.
Yeah.
So I can set up from there.
Yeah.
All I have to show is that I've done my pupillage, and that's why a lot of people say lawyers are hustlers. Is because while you're a pupil attorney, it's like you have your own mini law firm within a law firm. So you manage your own files, you manage. But obviously with the supervisor there, you need to make sure you're making money at the same time. You're told you have a target, the amount of money you have to be making per month. So by the time you get out, you're like, I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah. So in Botswana, you have to wait too. But I do understand. I believe that the 2 years will give you an opportunity to build clientele.
Exactly.
For people to know, okay, so this, and also for you to know what you are good at. What are you good at? Working with children? Are you good at working with, mood disorders? Is that your line? Do you want to work with, schizophrenia, personality disorders? Where do you fall into?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last words for our Form 5s, our first year students? What advice do you want to give them as a lawyer? Let's start with Khali. As
a lawyer, I would say I would just take a little bit from what you said. Be a people person, but even if you're not, try your best to develop a skill of communication. I think communication is very important, and a lot of people don't know this. It's most of the time communication involves listening to understand, not listening to just react and say something. And being a lawyer is not about you can have great debating skills, but I didn't go to any debating class, but I was taught on how to present my argument and how to win cases for my clients. So at the end of the day, be open to people, be friendly to people. The same kids, or rather students that you'll be in law school with, are the same people who will be your colleagues. Some of them will be judges. Some of them will be in high positions that you would need to talk to them in order to get something, for your client. So at the end of the day, being a great communicator, being a people person will advance your cause, more than ever. Another thing is, if you're thinking of law and you're thinking, hey, maybe I'd rather, go practice. No, I would like to study in South Africa for any other reason out there. Just know that you will have to write bar exams that side. And then when you come back here, you need to write certain exams in order to, and then being admitted as well here. You're going to be admitted in South Africa and then being admitted here. It's also important to know that the University of Botswana in Botswana specifically, is the only university that our law society and our high courts recognize a degree, for law.
That's important to
It's
know.
very important to know. So
Yeah.
I know that other schools right now are saying, GUC is saying, come and get, you can come get your degree here.
Yeah.
But there's been issues with the law society and all that. And on top of that, we have a Legal Practitioners Act that specifically states which universities where you'd be admitted, to practice in Botswana. So if you can go get that Legal Practitioners Act, and it will tell you which specific universities, if you go to those universities, you'd be admitted to practice in Botswana. It'd be a shame to put in 5 years at work in and not being able to practice here at home. So yes, be a people person, love the work that you do. You are not going to enjoy every single course, because it's so much out there. You can be, an attorney who's into employer and employee rights, or you can be into mining, like I said, or you can. I'm very good at family law, so it's one of the branches that I do. So you could be into that, or you could say, I know I learned enough about family law. I'm not into that. I'd rather do this, and that's okay. There's enough. There's enough work to do. There's enough money for everybody, if I would say. And it's also very rewarding in the financial aspect. If you do it right, you'll be greatly rewarded. If you do work for government, there are so many benefits. We're getting housing allowances, roving allowances. You can stay in a 3-bedroom house, and pay like 1.2. I hear some people, pay that as rent to the government as an attorney.
Wow.
There are so many benefits. So and then if you can, I did not come from a family where they were connected to lawyers out there. So what I did is, while I was still in school, I went and looked for a job. I was an intern in one of the law firms, so that I can have at least one foot in the industry, and I could network in order to find a job. And that helped me so much, because when I got my degree, I ended up working for one of the medium to big law firms in Gaborone. Like, everybody was like, how? Where'd you get the connection? Guys, I was networking. That's all I did. I was talking to senior lawyers. I was talking to middle lawyers. I was so good with the cleaners. The reason why I even got that job is because when I visited that law firm, from the law firm I was interning, I was so nice to the cleaner, to the receptionist, to everybody, that they all advocated for me.
Oh, wow.
Because in that law firm, for you to get a job, the whole team needs to like you. Okay. The boss is not the one that hires. It's the team behind the boss that hires.
Okay.
So that's how I was able to get my foot in. Whereas a lot of people are lining up for that specific law firm, but because it's such a great training ground in ETC, but they're not able to get in because they lack the people skills, or they're just not nice to everybody. They treat people differently. So try to treat people, doesn't matter if it's the lady who's cleaning, or the receptionist, or even the owner of the law firm. Treat everybody equally, and it will get you far.
Awesome.
Yeah.
To add on what Khalal was saying about networking, find people. I know that they're not. We don't have a lot of psychologists in Botswana. We need more psychologists. So find people that are psychologists. Talk to them about the field. Like I was saying before, there are so many branches in psychology. So there are so many things that a person can do in psychology. Can work with. Can do work. Be an educational psychologist. You can be a child psychologist. So there are so many things that one can do. So talk to other people that can, guide you. I know that for me too, when I was going for my selection, my interviews, I had other people that have gone through the same process that were guiding me, that were telling me, you need to be yourself, you need to do that, way giving me pointers on what to do to be able to go through the process, the selection process. So it's very important to network, get to know people, talk to people, even if just to volunteer your services. I know, coming back when I came back to Botswana in 2019, I wasn't working at that time, so I was volunteering my services at the Mahalape Hospital. I was helping, assisting, or facilitating programs for young people with HIV. So do those things,
Yeah.
and that's how I ended up getting a job at UB, doing some other thing. Let me not talk about it.
Okay.
So-
Tell us.
So yeah, networking is very important, and also do what you love. I know that at the moment we are all about money. Getting comfortable, but I believe that your job is sort more like your calling, because you go to your job from 8 to 5. So
Yeah.
if you are going to be spending most of your days at work, it should be something that you are passionate about, something that you believe that, okay, I'm doing this because I love it. So it's important that you find out what you love, and you can also get feedback from other people. I guess sometimes we may not know what we like.
Yeah.
So having conversations with the parents, I can tell the way you are confident and argumentative, you make a good lawyer. Or friends will tell you have good listening skills. And so on, or teachers, feedback from other people can help you can give you guidance on what career to go into. Or you can go see a psychologist. We do career assessment.
Oh, I didn't
So
know that.
if you we do, I think the test that
Yes.
you took was the careers, maybe strong interest,
something like that. It was
Yeah.
online. That's all I know.
Oh,
okay.
That's all I know. Yeah.
Yeah, we do that. I know back when I was in UB, when I was doing my internship at UB, we used to partner with, what is it? There was always a show at Ditwanel, a careers fair at Ditwanel. No, not Ditwanel. The this place. At the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Koditsupo.
Yes. So we used to go there and we'll do assessments for Form 5 leavers for free. So we'll do assessments
nice.
in terms of how the person performed. You'll be looking at the results. Okay, what did you get from maths? I got an A, and then what are you interested in? And then we'll also do assessments on what you are good at, so that what you want to do, and also your capabilities and also your interests, are they in line? Are they aligned? So go talk to a psychologist if you are not sure about what you're interested in. They'll be able to help you. Yeah.
I love that. I love that it's actually even all encompassing everybody.
Yeah.
Whatever profession, whatever kind of person you are. That's really solid advice. Thank you. Well, that's all we have time for today. Kali, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Please do tune in and take the advice. Look for mentors. Look for all kinds of resources, all kinds of help if you are interested in the social science. We couldn't have everybody on here. There's political science in there. There is economics, the controversial one. Is it really a social science? There's so many, it's so broad what you can get involved to when it comes to social sciences. So do your research, get some advice, speak to your psychologists, and most of all, listen to what the Lord is leading you to do. So thank you for watching and have a good night. God bless you.